We have just been listening to a bit of Eine kleine Nachtmusik, which is German for A Little Night Music, by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. This has been played by the Four Fills String Quartet and shows us some of the instruments, stringed instruments of the orchestra. Cool, dude. I brought along some of my stringed instruments. No, stop. Okay, dude. I'll just strum along with my ukulele. Slow down, you move too fast. No, the ukulele's not played in the string section. What have I got left? Here's an idea. Why don't you just pick up your viola? That's what you'll be demonstrating to the students. Yeah, okay.
Just hang on. It's down here somewhere. Almost got it. Yep, there.
Okay, now that we each have our orchestral stringed instruments, the ones played with the bow, we will be showing the students the stringed instruments of the orchestra and how they are played. We'll meet back here and we'll play them some more of Eine kleine Nachtmusik. I'm going to show you the violin. The violin is the highest sounding instrument in the string section or in the orchestra. It has 4 strings, and I'll show you those. The G, the D, the A, and the E. We call those open strings because that is the sound it makes when we bow the string without putting a finger on the fingerboard. Let's see what happens when we push a finger down. Here's the open D. Push a finger down, it becomes E. Push the second finger down, and it's F sharp. Push the third finger right next door to the second finger, and it's G. And that's how we can play melodies on the violin. Here's the melody from Eine kleine Nachtmusik that you'll hear later. Now another thing the violin can do is play 2 notes at a time. This is called double stopping, where we place the bow across 2 strings and we put our fingers down on the correct notes on those strings, such as this part from Eine kleine Nachtmusik, and you'll recognise it when you hear it later. Now another thing sometimes happens in an orchestra or even when you're playing a solo melody is the composer might mark in the music an Italian word, pizzicato, which means plucked. And then if we're playing an orchestra, we quickly grab the bow like this and we push our thumb here against the fingerboard and we might play something like this. Okay, fill number 1 has shown you the violin as an orchestral stringed instrument, but I'm just going to explain to you a little bit about other styles of playing the violin. When we play the violin in other styles, a lot of people ask me what the difference is between the violin and a fiddle, and it's in the style of playing. The actual instrument is about the same. So my violin is a bit different to fill number 1's. It's got this electric bug here, like a microphone, fitted onto the bridge. And I often play with bands playing different styles. Now, here's something a lot of people, even violinists, don't know. I've tuned the violin to some different notes. Instead of the open E, I've tuned it down a note to the D string. A stays the same, open D stays the same. But whoa, that sounds pretty low. I've dropped the G down to a D, an octave below the open D. Okay, and I'm going to play you a fiddle tune called Bonaparte's Retreat. Now, this particular fiddle tune comes from a part of the United States called the Appalachian Mountains. So we've got this open D tuning. Now, fiddle players back about 100 years ago in the Appalachian Mountains, it was fairly isolated. They would not have had violin teachers. They would have not had any music written out for them. So here it is, and they would have had someone banging on a wooden chest and playing the old string bass, and it would have sounded something like this. Okay, so that's from about 100 years ago, Bonaparte's Retreat from the Appalachian Mountains. It's a bluegrass style of fiddle playing. Now I'm just going to cut to another video where I was playing with some friends in a jazz group during lockdown. We're all on separate videos, and the piece is played on this same violin. We call it a violin then in jazz, and it's a style of jazz called swing jazz, and I'm playing All of Me, and it's a jazz tune played on this violin. Okay, I'm going to show you all about the viola. Now the viola is bigger than the violin. I think it means it's more important. And it has different strings to the violin. It's a bit deeper. So I'll show you. The other thing I need to mention, you'll see it come up on the music on the screen, that we read a different clef. Some people say that's because viola players are far more clever. So first of all, the open C string, the open G, the open D, the open A. See how the music looks a bit different? You soon get used to it, particularly if you're smart like me. Now, like the violin, we make different notes by putting our fingers on the string. So here's the open C string, no fingers. Push a finger down, and I get the note D. Now I'm going to play you a little tune from our flute music, the viola book, level 2, and it's the Dance of the Maidens. Okay, I'm going to show you the cello as an orchestral instrument. So the cello plays in the lower part of the orchestra on the bass clef. So here are the open strings of the cello, and you'll see it come up on the screen in the bass clef. First of all, the C string, then G, then D, then A. Now, in einoclone and arc music, you sometimes hear the cello playing a bass line. In the orchestra, quite often the cello will play a bass line, but it can also play a melody very nicely, such as in einoclone and arc music, it can play that melody. Here's another melody that sounds very nice on the cello, a little minuet by Bach. And here's another thing that the other fills haven't mentioned, is an effect called tremolo. So when a composer puts all these strokes here above the note head like this, or under the note head, it sounds like this. We move them. I'll just switch across to the other camera. It has a kind of shimmering effect, very, very effective in films, in movies, and the cello does it great, but it can be a great effect on any of the string instruments or the whole orchestra. I'm going to show you the double bass. The double bass has 4 strings. It's important to note before I show you those strings that the double bass sounds an octave lower than is written on the bass clef. So here's the E string, the A string, the D string, the G string. Now I'm using the French bow. The French bow has a slightly smaller frog. I'm just going to put up on the screen here for a moment the German bow. You'll see the frogs there for both the German and the French bows, and the German bow has a bit of a bigger frog, and that's sometimes used by some professional orchestral bass players. They prefer the feel of the German bow, but in schools I usually teach with the French bow, easier for slightly smaller, younger hands. Now, the double bass plays these sorts of intricate bass lines. You'll hear something like this in Eine kleine Nachmusik. And they also play melodies sometimes like this. Now, if I put the bow down, double basses can also pizzicato, and while I'm showing you that, the double bass can also play other styles of music. So here's a little bit of jazz. You might recognise it. Well done, everyone. I liked your demonstration of bluegrass and jazz styles of fiddle playing. I didn't realise that the fiddle could be retuned like that.
Yes, and many people also don't know that the fiddle and the violin are the same instrument. It's just when it's played in those other styles, we call it a fiddle. Wow, cool, dude. What can we show the students now?
Why don't we play a bit more of Eine kleine Nachmusik? Good idea. That shows how the string instruments work together in classical music.
I've invited Phil number 5, our bass player, to join us, but he can't stay for the whole gig. What do you mean he can't stay for the whole gig? Well, you know, our bass player, he's always got something else going on, so he'll just fade in and out a bit.
Well, that sounds a bit unusual, but we'll see how it fits in.